Hello interwebs, welcome to Let's Fix Computers, or Let's Build Computers, or Let's Modify Things. Anyway, this is my car's boost gauge. It's an eBay special knockoff Apexi, and I like it because it's got a nice big dial and it does not have a smoked lens, so it's nice and easy to read from the driving seat. So for those of you who don't know, on turbocharged cars, your turbocharger compresses the air going into the engine, and the amount of compression is known as how much boost you have. So this gauge tells me how hard my turbos are working when I've got the hammer down. Unfortunately, this one, as you can see, is illuminated blue, whereas my car's dashboard is all green illumination. Now, because this is a 20-year-old car, and I'm a big believer in OEM Plus, I kind of want to keep it all standard. So I want to change the colour of these LEDs. I also want to reduce the overall brightness of it, because while this is fine during the day, but at night, that blue glare is really bright. It's obnoxiously bright. So I want to reduce the brightness of this thing as well. So let's get it on the bench and see what we can do with it. Okay, right. Now, spoiler alert, I've already had a rough idea on how to take this apart. There's two screws on the back here that hold all the gubbins in the back case, and then the front bit comes off by twisting and unlocking it here. So you twist like that, and the front lens will come off. So there's our little bit of glass. And then if I remove these two screws, all the interior stuff will come straight out the front. So let's take those screws out. Alright, and then this front needle will just pull off. Because I've already taken it off once, it's actually coming off very easily. This is actually my second time around of recording this. Initially, I started doing a discovery recording, and I didn't record any initial things, so you couldn't see what it looked like, and I just decided to start again. So let's just take this front bit off. Now this just unclipped, it just popped off like that. So there's the actual gauge, so you can change the design of it for whatever this thing is actually displaying. And then here we have the interior bit. So this is comprised of a two-board construction. Here's the controller board, so we've got a microcontroller there with voltage regulation and stuff like that. Then on the inside we have a stepper motor, which adjusts the position of the needle. Remember, this is not an analog gauge. Although it has an analog dial, this is a stepper motor, which means an electronic controller dictates the position that the needle will move to. So analog boost gauges that literally just have a pressure sensor in them that just, when it pressurizes, it pushes the needle around. Those tend to be really annoying and slow to respond and blah, blah, blah. I like these stepper motor ones because they're much nicer. So then the front board, this is literally just an illumination board. As you can see, it's just got these surface mount LEDs, complete with a bodge wire all over it. So if we power this thing up, we'll actually find that all 8 of the LEDs on the front here are all blue LEDs, and the needle, which illuminates red, is illuminated through the actual spindle there. So there's probably a red LED back on in the stepper motor somewhere or at the back of it. So what I want to do is replace these surface mount LEDs with green ones. Now I would like to take some of them out. However, one of the things that I've already observed is that because this thing runs on 12 volts, these LEDs, some of them are in series with each other. So we need to figure out which ones are in series, because then we know which ones I can remove and which ones have to stay. Because if I just take out a couple, I'm going to break the series circuit and a whole set of them will die. Or if I were to replace some of the removed ones with just a bridge wire, that will change the calculation for these resistances, which may overload the other LEDs. And I'm not sure if I can be bothered to calculate that much. However, what I'm hoping to find is that we will have 2 circuits here. My guess is that there are 2 resistors, one on each side of the whole series circuit. So let's have a look and see if we can figure this out. Now, this white solder mask is great for reflecting more light from the LEDs, but it's really crap for seeing the traces. There we go, if I hold it in the light, we can start seeing where the traces are going there. So let's figure this thing out. Now, I've determined through a little bit of buzzing with the multimeter that this bottom right pin is 12 volts in. And we can just see that guy actually goes up the side here, up there to the top of that LED. And the bodge wire goes up and over the top to the top of that LED. And I've actually marked the negative sides there. So that is what a set. Then let me see. It then goes down through that resistor to this LED, which then goes down to that LED, and then that one I buzzed out down to ground. But then it also connects back through that resistor to the ground of that LED. Aha, so that's the path down there. So we've got LED, LED, resistor to ground, or we've got resistor, LED, LED, ground. So there's one resistor per two LEDs. So what I should be able to figure out is, so those two are in circuit with each other, those two are in circuit with each other. So I would imagine that it's the same on the other side of the board. Negative to positive to negative to resistor. So those two are together, so those two are together. So that's great. So I could take those two out and not lose anything. What I'd like to keep is the four outer ones. However, because these two are in series with each other, oh wait, that one to that one. Yeah, so I can remove the inside ones just fine. So we can replace these ones with green ones, ditch the inside ones, and that'll be fine. And what I might do, in order to make all the modifications reversible, is I might just knock the resistors for the inside ones off center, so then disconnected without actually removing them. Yeah, I like that. Okay, right, let's get the hot air gun out and let's see how that goes. Right, so firstly, I'm just going to disconnect a couple of these resistors. So let's start with this guy, which should take out this one and this one. Then that goes down to there, which goes down to there. So that resistor is handling these two. Okay, so let's plug this back into the wiring harness and just confirm what we've done. Nice. So as you can see, we've now got the four outer LEDs and we've disabled the four inside LEDs. So that's now half the brightness of the whole thing, so it won't burn my retinas out on the motorway at night anymore. Okay, right, let's do some LEDs. So the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to desolder these four outside LEDs, and we need to remove this bodge wire as well. So I'm going to take the bodge wire off by hand with the soldering iron just so I don't melt that with the hot air gun. So let's just wait for the soldering iron to come up. Alright, let's remove the blue LEDs. Okay, now I'm just going to touch up the pads that those LEDs came off of, just so the new ones go on nicely. Okay, now unfortunately the SMD LEDs that I already have in stock are a size down from the ones that came off. So just as a size comparison, you can see those are the original ones, these are the ones I'm replacing with. So again, we're going to drop in brightness a little bit more. So hopefully not by too much. Now I could hot air this into place, but because I've got to stretch between those two pads, I'm going to use the soldering iron just to have a little bit more control. When removing SMD components, it's realistically you need either two soldering irons or you need a hot air gun. However, to put them on, you can do it with just a soldering iron. So just nudge him into place. And a little bit of a solder blob on the back there. There we go. And that's one. Let's rinse and repeat. Whew, alright. That's our tiny little SND LEDs done. I'm just going to go plug this thing back in and just check that it works before we put it back together.
Yeah boy, check it out. Green. It looks great. Let's properly reassemble this, and then when the dark falls we can just see how well it works.
Something I just noticed is, as I put it on the bench, I forgot to put the bodge wire back on. So, I'm going to put this bodge wire back on. Now, by following the traces, these two top LEDs are connected all the way around the bottom. So perhaps this wire is there just as a balancing wire to stop all that current having to go up the sides or something. I'm not sure. Either way, I'm sure they would not have put it there if they didn't need it. So I'm going to put the bodge wire back on as well. There we go. Right, let's reassemble this thing. Okay, now to position our needle, I'm going to make sure that the spindle is at its lowest point, which I've already previously checked is -1. So now we align the needle at -1. Perfect. There we go. And put that back on. Done. Okay, right. I'm going to stick that back in the car. And hopefully the next time you guys see it will be when dusk has fallen and we can see it glowing with my dashboard.
And there it is, people. It's awesome. It's still fairly bright. If we compare it to the car dash, as you can see, the car dash is very dim by comparison. And it's like, ah! So yeah, it's still too bright. The other thing you'll notice is that if we look down the bottom, like the number 1 and the +1 they're a little bit dim where the LEDs there are both disconnected. Whereas the LEDs here and in these locations are doing all the work and creating quite a lot of glare. So there's a little bit of unevenness in the lighting. The color tone is okay. I mean, obviously, where these are all 20-year-old electronics, it's a much more washed out green color. However, whereas this is brand new modern LED technology. So, you know, the color is okay. It's an improvement. You know, I've now got green all over instead of having a mixture of green and blue. So the question is if I can be bothered to go any further with it or not. If I were to take it apart again, what I would probably do is get a Sharpie and just draw some black marker over the top of the LEDs, which would further dull them down. And I think that would do the job. And, you know, the uneven lighting, to be honest, that's not enough to bother me. So yeah, I can see myself doing that. I think I might try and just Sharpie over the top of the LEDs just to dull them down that bit more. I've done this trick on LEDs in the past. It's usually just enough to make them tolerable. So yeah, that's about it. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye for now.